Welcome back to Thoughts and Opinions. As you can see from the title of this video, which is called You March for Them, but Will They March for You? We will be discussing the one-sided dedication that I see a lot of Black trans women maintaining for the Black community as a whole, most especially as it pertains to Black cis men. Oftentimes in this community, we are blatantly attacked. We are blamed for our own deaths in such a way that when we are killed by one of these men, instantly the community will scapegoat and say that we were killed because of our own failure to tell a man our status as trans women, and that we were tricking them, when in many cases we know that is not the case. Usually these men are very much aware that they are dealing with trans women, but because of their own twisted sense of pride and ego, they can't really deal with the societal pressure and admit who it is they are deep inside. So oftentimes when they're dating us or having sexual relations with one of us and it's found out that they are by the society at large, they often overcompensate by killing us as if to prove that they aren't gay or something of the sort. So what I'm going to do is play a few video clips, and then I'll also briefly go over a bit of articles just to prove my point and why it's important for Black trans women to leave behind Black men as a whole. So I'm going to start with this one. I don't know if you all remember the mob attack that happened in Minnesota, which was last year. But I'm not really going to say much on this. I'll just let you see for yourself and then give my commentary.
Bro, grade A wildin'.
Okay, so as you saw, that was completely heinous and unnecessary. I'm trying to see, or understand rather, why did a group of people feel justified in attacking one individual? What could that person have possibly done to warrant an entire mob of people attacking her in such a manner? It doesn't make any sense. And so when you often call out this behavior, a lot of times the Black community will try to gaslight you and say that there really isn't any discrimination or attacks on trans women, and they often refer to us as a protected class, when in many of the cases there's not really any prosecution that gets done to any of these people. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and play another video illustrating something similar.
The attack on the transgender woman drawing condemnation tonight from Dallas leaders. Video of this assault has gone viral. Yona Gavino live at Dallas Police Headquarters with what she's learned about this investigation. Yona?
Steve, tonight Dallas police are still piecing out what exactly happened, and they are still looking for suspects and witnesses in this violent attack. And right now, the city of Dallas's mayor is condemning the violence. It's cell phone video that's been shared thousands of times online. The victim in blue attacked in broad daylight as onlookers watched. Dallas police say the transgender woman was involved in a minor car crash just before the assault.
What you finna come up out with?
A second video posted online claims to show what happened right after the crash. The victim is seen shouting and banging on one of the wrecked vehicles. Off camera, friends are branding it a hate crime. But other residents tell us they believe she incited the violence by provoking the crowd.
And it just turns into a frenzy. It's just disgraceful. Needless violence.
Leslie McMurray is an advocate for the transgender community. She says the video is hard to watch.
It's disgusting. It makes me physically ill to see that sort of thing happen because I feel the terror of that victim being surrounded by people that are taunting you and threatening you with physical violence. There's really literally nothing you can do other than pray.
As bystanders taunt and jeer, a group of women drags the victim into a car and to safety. Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall alerted Mayor Mike Rawlings to the investigation. The mayor issuing this statement saying in part, "I am extremely angry about what appears to be mob violence against this woman. Those who did this do not represent how Dallasites feel about our thriving LGBTQ community. We will not stand for this kind of behavior." And tonight, Steve, Dallas police continue their investigation. No arrests have been made at this time, but I did speak to friends of the victim. As you know, they tell me that the victim is out of the hospital this evening. Live in Dallas, Yona Gavino, CBS 11 News.
So notice that this is the same community that will often complain and cry about police brutality. Meanwhile, they have zero qualms about brutalizing a member of their own community that just happens to be trans. Mind you, all of this was done over a minor car crash, as if we don't have laws in place and insurance in place that can easily remedy the situation. Like, it did not require, again, a group of people attacking this woman over something so minor. But had a police officer came and attacked Tyrone and put like a knee in his neck, then all of a sudden the same community who would justify that attack would be outraged. I'm going to go ahead and play another video. Let's see.
Bashed me inside the head and my cheeks and my mouth in it.
A brutal attack. A transgender woman is injured after a group beats her right outside of her home.
Tonight, police are searching for those responsible for what appears to be a hate crime on the streets of Philadelphia.
It is Tuesday night, and the big story on Action News is an Action News exclusive. An attack on a black transgender woman has left her fearful for her own life.
Yeah, this all happened on the steps of her own home. Action News reporter Dan Cuellar talked to the victim tonight. He joins us live from South Detectives with the details. Dan.
Shari, Rick, detectives here are on the case. We're being told they have some pretty good leads on some suspects in the vicious attack on a 34-year-old trans woman last night. She spoke with us exclusively about what happened.
My lips are swollen. My jaw is very sore. I can barely even chew. It's so bad.
Kendall Stevens says she was in her home last night at a 1200 block of South 22nd with her husband, 12-year-old goddaughter, and another child when a loud ruckus broke out outside.
It was a brawl. People were fighting. People were throwing around liquor bottles all in front of my property while I had kids inside.
She says she threatened to call 911 if they didn't quiet down and disperse. She says suddenly some in the group began to attack her, part of which was captured on surveillance camera before it was ripped from the wall.
This lady comes barreling at me like a bull and starts swinging at me. I tried to close my front door, and as I'm doing this, she kicks it open and starts attacking me all about my face. They called me a trainee. They said, "You're a man, we're going to get you." And they were repeating this all throughout the beating, saying that I deserved it.
Stevens says initially police were handling it as a simple assault, but she later went to the hospital where medical personnel called detectives. Deja Alvarez is co-chair of the Philadelphia LGBTQ Police Liaison Committee and is looking into the case to make sure people are brought to justice.
I was grateful that Kendall was alive, but I'm angry that this happened. I'm also angry at some of the ways that it was handled, and that there will be an example made that it is not going to be open season on trans people.
Meanwhile, Stevens says she hasn't been able to get a wink of sleep.
I am in fear of my life. They threatened to come back and finish the job. That was the last words said to me. They already showed what kind of monsters they are. They're savages.
So far, there have been no arrests, but police do have the surveillance tape, and they have some pretty good leads on some suspects. And if anyone else has information, you're being asked to call police.
Okay, so in that particular video, notice that it wasn't just the black men who were attacking the trans women, but it was also black women, cis black women. A lot of times when we're having these online discussions, black women will act as though they don't have any part in the attacks that transpires against us. They oftentimes act like they're an innocent party when, as you can see by the video, a lot of times they are aggressors as well. Even in the first video with like the mob in Minnesota, there were black women pulling that girl's hair and fighting her as well. So it's like we're getting it from just like cis people in general in the black community. I will, however, say that I do, for the most part, have very fulfilling and enduring relationships with cis black women. And I know that a lot of cis black women do stand by the LGBT community. But at the same time, I don't like the narrative that they are not complicit in the violence portrayed against us to continue on. So let's see, I think I have another video that I can play, and then we'll go into skimming over some articles.
And investigators are looking into a hate crime after 3 transgender women were attacked and 1 allegedly robbed. The victims say instead of helping them, witnesses mocked them. Matt Gutman has that story, and we should warn you, this video may be hard to watch.
The LAPD says it's closing in on the suspect in this vicious apparent hate crime. This video, a 26-minute chronicle of harassment of 3 transgender women right on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The incident and that mockery,
I think that's a dude,
igniting a firestorm on social media. Eden Estrada, Jaslene Bissonnette, and Jocelyn Allen say the man had been hassling them earlier. Then he stole Estrada's phone.
Initially, we all chased after him to retrieve my phone, but bystanders around us started to make fun of us and surrounded us and started throwing rocks, lighters, started calling us men.
Police say the suspect, armed with a metal bar, robbed Allen and later struck Bissonnette in the head with a bottle.
damn.
According to the most recent FBI data released, hate crimes directed at transgender individuals increased 42% in 1 year.
Because we're trans, nobody cared.
But I think I'm going to start talking. One of the things that was so concerning about this incident to people who've watched it online, and it's now millions of people, is that it happened right here on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This was out in public. There were people around, even though it was 2 o'clock in the morning, Diane, and none of them rendered aid. And in fact, you can see from that video that some of those onlookers, the people who were filming, they even seemed to goad on that alleged assailant, telling him, you know, that's a man, don't let him mess with you. Essentially angering him even more, fueling some of that wrath that he took out on those 3 transgender women. All of it happened publicly on a main street here in downtown Hollywood, not far from the famous Man Chinese Theater, and that's something that really upset people online. It's not a crime to do that, but certainly, I think the internet right now and social media is drawing vengeance against the people who just stood by and didn't even render aid when one of those women, Bissonnette, was lying in the street, having been hit in the back of the head with the bottle.
Yeah, emotions are high here, understandably so, Matt, but these women now want justice. The LAPD says they're closing in on a suspect. What do we know about that part of the investigation?
So we talked about the social media aspect of it, right? So there is a tremendous amount of social media interaction here. Eden Estrada, who is the blonde woman who was attacked as well, she has an enormous Instagram following, and she basically sicked Twitter and Instagram on the man she believes to have been the suspect. Twitter and the police sort of cooperated in a weird, non-official way. And basically, police say they now believe they know who the suspect is. They do say they are closing in on him. I suspect that an arrest might happen in the coming days, unclear exactly when. We do know at this point that the suspect would be charged with robbery and a hate crime if arrested, but at this point, police don't actually have him in custody. Diane?
All right. Solving crimes with the help of Twitter. Matt Gutman in Los Angeles. We appreciate it, Matt. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here.
All right, that's enough of that. So as you could see, you have a wild Tyrone prowling the streets of Los Angeles, attacking two African-American trans women and a Hispanic trans woman. And I'm not sure if you all remember like the original video of that, where they were essentially like mocked and being attacked by passerbys, and no one thought to like intervene and like save them, or not even just like save them, but just like offer them like any sort of like aid, like period. Like they didn't even like call the police for these girls. So again, I ask you, if you are a Black trans woman, why is it that you insist on being pro-Black? It's almost as if, like, some trans girls have a death wish. Like, as soon as you realize, like, who you are, your first priority should be to escape the Black community as quickly as possible. You will not find any reprieve. In fact, the same could be said for cis Black women. Let me show you these articles right here. All right, so this article is geared towards cis Black women. So as you see, Black women murdered by men are most often killed with a gun, almost always by someone they know, according to new VPC study released each year for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So when you go through the article and you just like skim very briefly, it gives you like a few pertinent bullet points. So in 2005, 574 Black females were murdered by males in single offender homicides. So from here, you can see that firearms were usually the weapon of choice in these murders. And let's see, let's keep going. So yeah, so most of the women who were killed were by men that they knew. So these are usually like brothers, cousins, fathers, uncles, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, etc. Right? So this just goes to show that even as a cis Black woman, you don't have any reprieve from this community. And then we go to this article right here. It says, violence against Black women, many types, far-reaching effects. And when you skim it, it says, more than 4 in 10 Black women experience physical violence from an intimate partner during their lifetimes. White women, Latinas, and Asian Pacific Islander women report lower rates. Black women also experience significantly higher rates of psychological abuse, including humiliation, insults, name-calling, coercive control, and than do like women overall. Sexual violence affects Black women at high rates. More than 20% of Black women are raped during their lifetimes, a higher share than among women overall. Black women face a particularly high risk of being killed at the hands of a man. A 2015 Violence Policy Center study finds that Black women were 2.5 times more likely to be murdered by men than their white counterparts. More than 9 in 10 Black female victims knew their killers. So, this posits a very interesting question that I feel like any Black trans girl needs to ask herself. If the community as a whole feels this way about cis Black women, why do you feel safe in the Black community when you're trans? It seems to me that because you're trans, they're more likely to attack you than anything. At least with like cis women, there's like always like the argument of like, oh, you can't really hit a woman because of like biology, etc., or like maybe some like religiosity or just like social norms like in general. However, we know that this cis heteronormative society, for the most part, views trans women as men. So therefore, when it comes to enacting violence against you, they don't have those same qualms. This is why I say it's important for young trans women especially to start working on their education. Start maneuvering in ways that you can acquire housing for yourself, quickly medically transition, and just to get away from any toxic environments that are conducive to enacting harm upon you. Alright, so what I was looking at over here were I was just trying to find like a list of trans women who were just like killed in 2021. I have yet to find like a full comprehensive list, so I may wait until maybe like 2022 to go ahead and put that list out. But from what you can see in this image right here, look at most of the faces. It's like you only have like what? Like one white girl. I'm not really sure like what this person is. I'm not sure if she's like a light-skinned Black person or Hispanic, but let's see. Alright, so that basically leads me to like the article that I have like pulled up already. Again, Black faces. So the regions where death is most common or murder is in the South, and we do know that there is a high Black population in the South. In fact, the South has like the highest Black population of any region in the United States. And then we can come over here. Alright, so I was like briefly skimming through this like earlier. Let me get rid of that. Alright, so like even when you like look through like the list of names, this is really 2019 as well. You see Black transgender woman. You have one gender non-conforming person, but again, Black transgender woman, 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 and it just like keeps going on and on and on and on. So yeah, this is like very sad and like very depressing. And that's why I think that we need to start having these discussions about what to do, because like remaining loyal to a community that can give two fucks about us just is not the answer. It is not what we need to be doing. Like, take your disposable income if you have access to it and just like run far the fuck away. That's like the only thing I can tell you to do. Is just get far the fuck away from these people. And just please, please, please do not, just please don't date a Black man. Like, you are literally gambling with your life when you do so. So yeah, that's it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I am very interested in hearing from all of you. And I do think we need to like really get the discussion going, because like something has to fucking give. Like it really does. Thank you and goodbye.